Okay, we're going to look at creating blue sheets. I think you've looked at this before with Mr. Filer, but some of my symbols are a little different than his, and it's also a good review for you. I'm going to go over this in person as well, but this is a good reference for you. Um, I have most of our work is going to be done through Google Classroom. However, I do have a website with a ton of material on it, so some of it we're going to refer to that for. And this sheet is on that. Wrong one. Okay. And if you go to student teacher websites, Mr. Menino, it will list this. It may say sophomores because I used to teach sophomores years ago, but it's a junior website. All right. And then you go to resources. Then under resources, you scroll down to, in this case, it has to do with doing your job, so I do have it under circuitry, creating blue sheets. Okay, you've been doing them all year. I'm just going to review some things, make sure we're on the same page. Creating blue sheets, you do them in pencil. Nice and neat, straight lines, ruler, round, circle, squares. So get a stencil if you don't have one. Correct symbols, no smudges, rips. I'm going to have you upload these when you do them to Google Classroom, so we'll go over that. Front of the blue sheet, all the information that's written will be on the sheet that you have to copy from. Wiring diagram just shows you, about wiring and layout diagram. You've been doing that. Schematic we'll get to later in the year. Backup blue sheet, I'm not going to have you do anything because there's going to be a stock checkoff sheet you're going to do where you're going to list stock quantities, and I already have it written out for you, so that's actually going to help you. Okay, diagrams and sequence, basic circuitry. So some basic circuitry, review here. Feed wire from the power source to your controlling device, which is your switch or contact device, receptacle. So feed does go to receptacle if that receptacle's all the time, if it's constant all the time. If it's switched, it's not going to be a feed wire to the receptacle. It's something different. We'll talk about that. It's usually black, red, or blue. In your case, you've been doing NM and MC, so it's black and red. Well, typically black, but it could be red. Okay, the switch leg. Switch leg is the wire. And I forgot, on the feed wire, I'm going to have you label that F in parentheses. You'll see what that means in a minute when we get to the drawing. Switch leg wire is from the controlling device, the switch, to the consuming device, the lighter receptacle. And this wire is going to be labeled S. So it's the one that goes from the switch to your, whatever you're controlling, turning off and on, right? And it's going to be S in parentheses. It's also a ungrounded conductor, so the acceptable colors for that are black, red, and blue on a lower voltage system like we're working on. On a higher voltage system, 277, 480, it'll be brown, orange, yellow, but we're not going to go there right now, just in case you're curious. So, return wire. Return conductor is the wire coming from the consuming device, your light or your receptacle, back to your power source, your panel board. This wire is always white, and it's to be labeled R in parentheses. It's called the grounded conductor. The reason it's called the grounded conductor, like it says right here, if traced back to the origination of the power source, there's a physical connection to Earth. Like this goes to a spot in your main panel or in the meter, where you also have something called a grounding electrode conductor, and that electrode conductor does go to Earth by way of ground rods or metal water piping or all different ways. But that's why they call it the grounded conductor. If you haven't known that yet, that's the reason. Travelers for three-way switching, interconnect your three-ways and your four-ways. Going to label them T, and they're ungrounded, so they're hot conductors, black, red. Switch symbols, single pole, three-way. Note on the three-way, the common is colored in the pole, the connecting point there is going from common to one terminal, and then the dotted line is the other possible position that switch could be in. Double pole, I don't think you do many of those. Sophomore year, you probably did one, if that. It's like two single poles in the same enclosure. They're mechanically connected together, so in other words, you flip that switch, both these single poles connect, but they're not electrically connected, so you could be like switching off two circuits, for example. Four-way switch, we'll go over that more in detail in shop. But basically, when you connect it, if you ever look at a four-way, two terminals are colored in, two aren't. I mean, they're different shades of colors of copper. And one point is connecting from this way, and the other point, when you flip it, is going that way, just like the drawing shows there. Light fixture symbol, this is where I want you to do it. I know Mr. Filer does it different, and that's fine. By learning different things from different instructors, you actually learn a couple different ways. Different textbooks have different symbols, so now you're learning one more thing. I want you to do it this way this year, though. The middle is where the switch leg connects, your hot conductor, the switch leg. That's a center post. And then the screw shell is where your your grounded conductor, your return, connects to. Duplex receptacle symbol, I know I do different than Mr. Filer. Short slash, long slash. Short slash is your hot conductor. Long slash is your neutral or return conductor. You can remember that with a memory aid. Long conductor or wide conductor. W stands for wide. W also stands for white, right? Which would be your return or your neutral. So you just bring your wire up to this and you do a little dot connecting it right on here is how I'm going to have you do that. Right onto for this, right onto the middle. For the one that's broken, where you're doing a split wired receptacle, you go dot right on here with your wire, dot right on here, neutral connect right here. Layout diagram quickly just talks about, it's typically what you'd see on a blueprint. It shows you your wiring method. It shows you your number of conductors. It does have wide or short slashes. Here's the layout diagram without slashes. Here's one with slashes. And wide slash is your return, your neutral, your white. Short slash is all your other ungrounded conductors are short slashes. Wiring diagram. Two types of color coding you're going to have here. Two types of labeling, I should say. This color coding labels like this: black, white, black, 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 white, 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 white. That's your color coding. Then the ones in parentheses are your circuitry. Feed, see how it's in the middle? That's what I want you to do. Feed in the middle, not at the termination points, but in the middle. Switch leg in the middle. Return in the middle. Return in the middle. Return in the middle. So if you have three cables, right? Let's go back to the layout. Cable 1, 2, and 3. And you have 6 conductors. That means you should have, in this case, 6 circuitry labels. Because if you don't, you're going to lose some points. But I want every cable labeled of what the wire is. Even if there's a splice and it's pretty easy to tell, I want each cable labeled in the middle. Return, return, switch leg, feed, feed. What that does for you, it may seem like a lot, but that builds your circuitry skills. Alright, so pretty soon you understand this. Obviously in the field you're not even going to be doing these wiring diagrams, The wiring diagrams are to train you so that you understand the circuitry. In the field, you're going to know this hopefully by that point, and you're going to be running off of a blueprint or working with a licensed electrician who's going to say run this cable here to there, and by this point hopefully your wiring skills are developed where you understand a bit more what's going on. So that this is developing you. The layout diagram is what you're going to see, something like it in a blueprint. And you could be looking at prints as an apprentice. That's common. Okay, more details about wiring diagram. I'll have you look at this yourself. It just breaks it down even deeper, which is some good information about transformers, about circuit breakers, all this. Schematic we're not going to get into right now. Normally second quarter junior year would get to that. With this year the way it is, it might be pushed off a little further. We'll see. All right, any questions, let me know. Hopefully this is helpful to you.